Hello, welcome to DIY Filmmaking 200. Today we are going to be expanding on our Soundwalk series with our B-roll, and we are going to be working on transitions and cross dissolve. What I have in front of me is the clip that I was working on. I've got my B-roll going here. I have some background noise that's playing on audio channel 1. And I have some sounds that I've made on audio channel 2 on the Foley sampler. What I want to do is I want to add another track, and I want to use some cross dissolves to go between it. With B-roll, it's nice to use a number of shots, and so having a bunch of those different shots is the way that you can really see what you're doing. I'm going to go over to the media page, and as you look here, I've pulled in another file. This one I've just got some ivy that I filmed as I was walking. I'm just kind of moving around that. And as you can see, it made it vertical accidentally, but we know how to fix that. And for this shot, I've just got the trail that I was walking along. And as you scrub along, I got up to this tree and I got really close to it. So I think I might use some of this really close shot of the tree. And what I want is I want to be able to cut between these different tracks, but I also want to be able to cross dissolve between them as well. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now, I've gone into my master timeline and I've made another folder here that says B-roll, and I've dragged those clips into it. So once they've been dragged down, you can see I've got another clip up here I'm going to drag down from my DIY filmmaking folder, footage, B-roll, and let's just pick another clip here. This one is of some trees. I got a little bit of a house in the corner, but I think these trees are really nice. They're different trees, but they're ones that I think we can cut between. As you can see, I just grab them and drag them down into this B-rolls folder. And now inside I've got my sounds with all of the sound samples that I made. And I have my B-roll folder with all of this different B-roll that I can use. We're going to go ahead and go to the edit page. You can see when I go up to my media pool here on the left, in my media pool I get my master, which gives me where my timelines are, as well as it automatically places my Foley samples in there. So as soon as those Foley samples are generated, they get placed in there. And then I'm going to go into my B-roll folder, and I can select one of these tracks here. Now I'm going to show you something when we bring a track in, because the track includes both the video that we've shot and the audio that we've shot as well. Oops, that's just the tree. I'm doing that one again. This track is the other tree. I'm going to get the ivy. Now as I bring the ivy in, I can just bring it in and drop it, but unless I'm being really aware, something is happening. If I look down below, you can see it's dropping another audio track on top of where my Foley sample is. This is very annoying because anytime I bring a video into a new track, such as video track 2, it's automatically going to drop that video's audio into the audio track 2. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that. And now what I have to do is I have to take my Foley sample and I have to drag it into audio 3 so that I can keep my audio 2 track open, so that when I drag my footage down, it can go into audio 2 and there's space for it. I'm going to drag that down. Now for me, since I shot this vertically, I just have to adjust it. I select the video track and I go over to angle for rotation, type in 90, and then of course the track is too small, so I have to grab my zoom and zoom it in. These tracks are layered, and so you can see we've got all of this playing on top of each other. We've got the audio playing, we have the tracks playing from top to bottom. If I cut this track, I can grab a section of it. Let's just play through and see when I want my cut to happen. I can hide this track as well. just by clicking on this little movie film strip here. That'll hide it and I can see the track below. And I'm going to mute the audio track because I just want the audio track from the other one to play. So I'm going to find when I want to switch to the Ivy. I think I'll switch to the Ivy right after those first 3 notes that I made. So I'm going to go ahead and make the track visible again. Now I could select it and go to Control B, which will cut the track and the audio as well. Or I can use the razor blade tool here, which if I hover over it, it will cut the track and the audio at the same time. For this, what I actually want to do is I want to get rid of the audio for this track and just keep the audio for the other track. You notice these two audio, the audio track and the video track are linked together. The way to fix that is to right click on the track, and you see down here at the bottom it says linked clips. When I unclick this, now all of a sudden I can select the audio track separately, I can move it separately, and more importantly, I can hit the backspace button and delete it. Remember, we want to use the backspace button instead of the delete button, because if we hit the delete button, it deletes the track and the other one. It ripple deletes. So we want to select it and hit the backspace button, because I don't need that audio track. It's just getting in the way. And in fact, if I want to, I can grab my Foley sample and move it back up to the audio 2 track. It seems like a bit of a workaround, but this is often what you have to do. You have to move an audio track down to a different track when you're bringing in the video, and then you can move it back when you're done. So now I'm just going to select my track. I'll just grab my razor blade. I'm going to cut it here. Play through to see how much of this I want to have. I think I'll go 2 notes in, and then I'll cut back to the video. So I'm unselecting my razor blade tool and I'm reselecting my select tool. I'm grabbing my track and I'm hitting the backspace button. Actually, what I want to do is the opposite of that. I want to delete the beginning. So I'm going to hit my backspace button, and now I've got my trees, transitioning into my ivy. Now, I made that cut in the wrong place. I actually wanted to bring it a little bit earlier, right as the note is dissipating. So instead of having to undo that and recut it, as I hover over the left-hand side of the track, I get, you see when I hover on the right side of it, I get this little bar that's kind of a bracket of left side bracket. I can get a double bracket or I can get a right side bracket. What I want is the double bracket, because the double bracket allows me to reslide this track where I cut it, and because it didn't actually delete that video, it left the video where it was, I can slide it back and get that bit of video back. So when you cut tracks here, remember, you can always get that video back. That cut is at the right place, but it is far too abrupt. So what we are going to do is we're going to add a crossfade. Crossfades are smooth transitions that blend the lower track and the upper track. Remember, you always have to crossfade from the top to the bottom, so you're going to make the top disappear. The way to add a crossfade, which is one of the most useful tools, and you will put crossfades on most of your cuts, unless you want that sharp clip, is I'm going to go for that single left side bracket again. Remember, we got our double bracket, our right bracket, but we want our left side bracket. I'm going to right click on it. Oops, these are grayed out, so I have to select my clip, make sure it's red, get my single side bracket, right click on it, and now I get this option to cross dissolve. The cross dissolve can be quick, 6 frames, 12 frames, 24 frames, or 48 frames. I'm going to do a full 48 frames. Let's watch how this looks. Now you see that cross dissolve between the two. And it gives you this little box with a white and a clear side to it and a little bar. Now this box is flexible just like the track is flexible. So I can stretch this out and I can make my crossfade nice and long. That's what I want because this is just kind of a drifty magical scene and I want a nice long crossfade between the two. So make your cut, but remember once you make your cut, you can drag that cut around and find a better spot for it. You can also drag your crossfade around and make it nice and long. I'm going to make this a really big crossfade because I want to kind of sit between the two of them for a while. I like how this ivy blends over the sky. I think it's really pretty and I want to make this nice and long. I'm going to go back to the trees. So the way I'll do that is by cutting this clip again, cutting out another chunk of it, deleting with the backspace button, and I want to cross dissolve back into this. So I'm going to stretch it back and I'm going to select the clip so it's red, get my little bracket arrow, right click on it, add a 48 frame cross dissolve, and then I'm going to take that cross dissolve and stretch it out again to match about the same distance. So now you can see we've got a cross dissolve in with these notes. We're going to see the ivy really well. And we get a cross dissolve back out. I think that looks really nice. So I'm going to delete this clip, select it, hit the backspace, and now I want to cross dissolve to that scene where I was walking through the forest. So that is this clip here. Now as you see, if I bring it in right above, it is dropping that audio on top, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to move this clip to another layer. I'm making a video layer 3 or track 3, and now I've made audio track 3. I'm going to select it, go to linked clips, and unselect that. You can relink clips if you want to too. As you can see, I'm selecting it and I've got link again. So I can relink these if I wanted to, but I want to unlink them. And then I'm going to grab the audio, got to click away, make sure I have just the audio selected in red, and hit the backspace. And now I can bring this clip back down to this top track. I'm using my middle mouse button to scroll along this track so that I don't have to use this bottom slider. It's just a little easier. And now once we go back to the trees, I'm actually going to find that shot where I've got just the tree close up because I think that's the part that I want. I'm going to select my razor blade and trim it. Grab my selection tool and backspace delete that. Now I have just this little bit of tree here where I'm exploring it. Actually, I might pick a better spot. Well, I kind of like that opening. Trim it again. Grab my selection tool, get the end part here, hit my backspace, and I'm going to add a cross dissolve, 48 frame cross dissolve, drag it out, 48 frame cross dissolve, drag it out. So now we'll be going between the trees again. And we slowly fade into this tree as these creepier notes come on. And that's how you add a cross dissolve. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to adjust our audio levels a little bit. This will give us another level of control. And as we're working, we can kind of tweak these levels throughout and get them to sound the way we want. For this, I want to control my volume, just like we're cross dissolving the image in and out. Sometimes we want to be able to fade the sound in and out. To do that, we use keyframes. I'm going to select my audio 2 track that has my Foley sample in here. I'm going to add a little point here, especially I think right here it gets really loud. And I want to fade some of this sound down a little bit. The way we do that is by adding a keyframe. And you can keyframe anything you want to in Resolve, so long as it has a little diamond shape next to it. Wherever your playhead is on the track, whenever you click that little diamond, it'll add a keyframe. These keyframes can often be a little hard to work with, but the one keyframe that's very easy to work with is the volume keyframe. The reason why is because just as you have this volume slider here right on your track that allows me to slide the volume up and down, when I add my keyframes from my volume, which I'm going to do right here, you see it adds a keyframe within the track itself. Now the rule for keyframes is this. If I want to slide my volume down for a little bit and then slide it back up, I need 4 keyframes. The reason why, and I'll show you why, is I've added 1 keyframe and now I'm going to slide my volume. You see it still slides the whole volume together. Well, it needs 2 keyframes to change the volume. And add a second keyframe over here. Remember, we can slide these keyframes around just by grabbing them and moving them. So everything's flexible. Now when I slide my volume down, you see we get a little shape. We get a little angle on the line. And it needs that angle in order to operate. So this allows me to slide the volume down entirely for the end part of this clip. But I want to just what's called duck the audio or drop the audio a little bit for one portion of the clip. So for that, I'm going to need 2 more keyframes. Place one there and one here. And now I can slide the other side back up. So what I've done, this is called ducking, where it just drops for a hair. I've used 4 keyframes to take the audio and bring it down and then bring it back up. Let's listen to how that sounds. This fades out. Now this new audio is going to come in quieter over these trees. And then as it fades in, it's going to fade up nice and loud. And that is how we do our audio clips. So here we've learned how to fade in our video and fade it out. And we've learned how to fade in our audio and fade it out. These are the 2 most useful tools, and you'll repeat them lots of times throughout your cuts. Cross dissolves are going to be one of the most used transitions between video clips. And then this simple ducking is a method for transitioning between your audio clips. Now you can also add a cross dissolve on your audio. I'm going to select this audio clip here, and I'm going to add a 48 frame cross dissolve. As you can see, it's added the cross dissolve automatically on the audio and the video itself. This is good just for ending a film clip that you have if you want to just drop it both off. But it doesn't work in the middle of the clip. I'm going to undo this. And so when you're working on things in the middle of the clip, or if you really want very careful control over how that clip sounds, the best thing to do is to use these keyframes. And it's very nice because you have a visualization of where the actual transition is happening, and you can slide these around up and down wherever you want. So Resolve makes these really easy to access and to add. But remember, you always need 4 of them. All right, this has been DIY Filmmaking 200.